Hi, today's exciting lesson was brought from Colossians chapter 1, verse 9 through 12, entitled, A Prayer for Your Life. Paul tells us in this text that we need every now and then to take a spiritual checkup. We go to the doctors for our health, but how often do we check where we are spiritually? He gives us some guidelines in these particular verses to let us know what our checkup should look like. In verses 9 and 10, he starts off by saying that we ought to be guided by the will of God. He prays for us to have full understanding, a full knowledge of God's will. In knowing God's will, God wants us to be in the center of his will. He wants us to understand his direction. And when we learn his will, we then adjust our lives to follow his will. Along with understanding his will, we need to know that there is some clarity we need to bring when it comes to knowing that will. God not only wants us to know it, but he wants us to perform it and do it. And then we learn not only does God want us to be filled with all knowledge of his will, but God wants us to have all wisdom. And wisdom is important because knowledge gives you understanding, but the wisdom gives you the application to that understanding. Wisdom is needed because while we learn a lot, many of us don't know how to utilize and apply to our daily lives what we learn. And so as we started this series, this first part, we did part 1 today, God is showing us how you and I can go through a spiritual checkup. First, by being guided by the will of God, but then secondly, being guarded by God's wisdom. Wisdom is what keeps us focused on who the Lord is. God bless you. We'll see you again.